Welcome, everyone, to ARTIVISM, the Power of Art for Social Transformation. ARTIVISM, the Power of Art for Social Transformation is an interdisciplinary, multi-institutional global collaboration whose aim is to engage people in transforming society through the power of art. The vision of this initiative is to generate a movement with committed social artivists in response to historic global concerns. Artivism aims to generate community through multidisciplinary teamwork for a more dignified and meaningful coexistence, however you may define these terms. The goal of this initiative is to nurture confidence in taking continuous action from wherever you are by a means of reciprocity. Carolina?
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Professor Agalarakis, for that nice introduction. And now it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, uh, Mr. Samuel S. Simon, starting his career in Washington, D.C. as a lawyer for Ralph Nader's first advocacy group. He then spent 25 years as head of public affairs film. In that work, he was often in the news with appearances in Face the Nation, Donahue Show, the Oprah Winfrey Show, Good Morning America, and many more. Sam calls his playwriting and theater work is Fourth Age. His first play, The Actual Dance, Love's Ultimate Journey Through Breast Cancer, has toured from 2013 to the present. In 2021, The Actual Dance was turned into an award-winning biography. In 2022, Sam was diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's disease, and his response has been to combine theatrical and advocacy skills to create a one-man play, Dementia Man, an existential journey, to challenge the world to transform the entire medical construct around cognitive disease, support, and inclusion. It is an honor now to introduce you to Mr. Samuel Simon.
And my wife, Susan.
And your wife, yes.
I brought her with me. She is my cognitive navigator. We'll talk about that. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to share a brief, it's our sizzle reel. Then I'm going to speak for a little while. And then I'm going to show you about 4 minutes of public broadcasting show. And then we'll have a conversation. So with that, I'm going to, let's see, hit Sam. Here we go. Hit share. Okay. And I'm oh, damned, I'm here again. I can't believe this place exists. Nothingness. No light, yet I have eyes. No sound, yet I have ears. No smell, no taste, no feel, no touch. My feet move, yet there is no floor. There must be a door. There must be another side. There has to be. I know I'm not dead. Well, at least I think I know I'm not dead. I wonder what the Sam of me then will know about the Sam of me now. And the lesson underneath that was I still will be someone. I choose to believe that there's a human being back there living in a universe of its own, his own or her own. Will they know anything about me? Maybe they will. Maybe that entity can see things even better than we do today. Alzheimer's is not curable. It's worse than cancer. I'm going to die. There is no cure. Does he say that? No, he just mumbles. Early stage Alzheimer's. But it is what I have. I can't change it. I can't, if I spend all my time woeing, why me, and oh no, and I don't want to be like something I look at, which may or may not be me later. In reality, my life is full of love and family and grace. I know this deep within my soul, though not always in my head. In my heart, I do not want to go. I do not want to end it all now. Yet I am caught up in the center of the cyclone of nothingness. Let me stop sharing. Yes. All right. That is a sizzle reel. It's on our. Oh, I gotta stop. Let me stop this.
I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner.
Right. Let me stop. I'm sorry. Technology isn't ideal, but here we go. All right. So I'm going to read a bit about this. It's not exactly from the play, but it is about that journey. So this will be about 10 to maybe 10 minutes or so. So the neurologist sitting in front of us is clearly uncomfortable. He doesn't make eye contact. We are in his private office, not the familiar exam room. I wonder now if we should have realized this was a dramatic moment for both parties, the patient and the doctor. Dr. Banks is looking down at a piece of paper. It looks like we're at a new diagnosis. And then he mumbles, early stage Alzheimer's. He's talking about me. Susan, then my wife of 54 and a half years, is sitting next to me. We just sit in silence, a silence that still comes around occasionally. It's as if the universe has stopped. Today, almost 4 years into this journey, I think back on that moment and wonder if that silence was because we didn't know much about Alzheimer's or because we did. I only remember the silence. In the days, weeks, and early months following the diagnosis, I had to come to terms with the existential questions that surround a terminal diagnosis. What should I do? What are my options? Those questions are still on my mind. As I initially struggled with these questions, my soul and my heart were twisted up. Can I continue in this life of mine? Or do I need to just curl up and die? Even now, my family and friends are empathetic, yet I can sense the terror in their hearts. I hear the subtext in their reactions. Oh my God, Sam, that's terrible. You poor, poor thing. I wonder if those people understand the impact of those words on me. No wonder so many people with the diagnosis fold into themselves and never come out. Or worse, end their lives through some form of suicide. My impulse to do something different comes from two places. One is Susan and her strength and unconditional love. She is an unlikely survivor of advanced breast cancer. Her experience, her journey from a presumed end-of-life illness to an unlikely survivor reminds us that even when the doctors tell us it's over, I can still beat the odds. Susan's brush with death is the primary source of my belief that I too might be an outlier, the 1%, or maybe the only one who beats the odds on this disease. Whatever that phrase may mean, for Alzheimer's. Another source of encouragement was and is my professional artistic cohort, what I now refer to as my fourth age in my life. I am now 79, going to be 80 in 2025. My transformation from lawyer, businessman, and advocate to actor, playwright, and solo performer has allowed me to become fully engaged in the business of a self-producing artist. As I started letting my theatrical colleagues know about my diagnosis, the first words were, "Write about it, Sam, write about it. Live the story on the page and on the stage." And that advice wasn't obvious to me, and I was incredulous. I've come to learn and believe that life with this disease is worth living. Yes, my journey is filled with scary, sometimes very dark moments. But you saw in that reel something called the nothingness place. It was in my mind initially. It's where I would disappear into. At the same time, it is a journey that has been informed by my life as a consumer advocate and a disability advocate. I actually was on the board of directors of the World Institute on Disability for 15 years and worked with folks like the late Judy Heumann, who's now known as the mother of modern disability movement. The play is also a story of becoming, my becoming different, defying norms, and aspiring to an experience that defies stereotypes and expectations. The feedback I get most often at the end of a performance of the play is that I am brave. And the word perplexes me. I don't feel brave. Truthfully, I don't know what I feel. I'm uncertain sometimes. I'm angry sometimes, not because I have the disease. I'm outraged at how the medical infrastructure of this country is and has failed people like me. Most often, my feelings are familiar, consistent with how I confronted every step of my life journey. The person who speaks out, and I'm smiling almost because she knows this, the person who speaks out and challenges norms and practices that I perceive as unfair and unjust. I use the label throughout the play as troublemaker to express that life history. Causing trouble for me is speaking out for a world of meaning, justice, and love for all people. In some ways, I experienced my own life story as doing just that, defying my own expectations on the way. For audiences experiencing my performance, I hope they too might come to imagine the future differently for everyone. I have seen the world change in ways that no one could imagine once. Earlier in my lifetime, and perhaps yours, there were no people in wheelchairs on our streets. Theaters did not have captioning, and we could not fathom a blind person sitting in the audience of a theatrical presentation. Yet this is now the norm. Oh, there is much more to be done even in the near future. What if the same transformation could happen for us, people with cognitive impairments, cognitive navigators and accommodations as available as curb cuts, a desk at hospitals or inside grocery stores or airports, train stations, any public serving business with big yellow flowers and a sign, cognitive help desk. Why have these accommodations for people with dementia, you ask? You don't see us walking around the streets, eh? Just like at one time, there were no people with wheelchairs in our streets. Well, what I have learned, to quote my neurologist from that meeting when I got my diagnosis, Sam, it could be 5, 10, or maybe even 15 years before things get a lot worse. In other words, there are a lot of us cognitively impaired people walking around town who can be relatively independent with just a little help. One last note about the end. There's another movement afoot, sometimes called euthanasia or accompanied suicide, that allows people to choose when and how to die. Advocates for this cause often claim that aided, assisted, or accompanied suicide provides greater agency and is more humane than the journey through a lengthy, expensive, and sometimes painful illness. My call to those of us going through those changes, cognitive changes, and to their loved ones, is to reimagine the future. Aspire to a future where it is possible for all of us, however we present ourselves, to live meaningful lives. A world in which the people and systems adapt, and we all commit to taking life's journeys together, if not for ourselves, then for generations yet to come. We will always have something to give to our families and to the world. I'd like to play one quick last video. There is a public broadcasting show called Living Well with Dementia, which is available to bring to your own station. Let me play just a brief 4 minute. I'll get it up there. I'll find it. So let me stop this for a moment. One more time. So be patient. Okay, it's there. Oh, no, but it has to be shared. It should be up. So we go to share. It is. Share. Here we go. So this is how it ends. I'm not going to die, well, at least not right away. I'm just going to go away, transform, become someone else. If you get a terminal diagnosis, it's not beatable. We evolved into the response. I want to be the outlier. There's this bell curve. Everybody here dies really early, everybody here average about the same time, and there's some one person out here who may never. I want to be that person. So you shoot for that. She eventually became a self-taught bookkeeper and worked at a small business in town. So it's a journey. It's not, I don't pick it, I can't change it. But I can live it. And I will try to live it in the best I can. The best I can. Even Nelson Rockefeller thought that
he has a purpose, and I think that's very important. What can I do that's positive?
And the purpose is not to die.
Right.
The purpose is to live a meaningful life
Right.
with the disease. Mm-hmm. How do you live a meaningful life with what you're given? And that ultimately becomes our choice. As usual, from the beginning, Susan's been right. Let's just take Switzerland off the table. And just see how many more troublemaking years I have left in me. Remember. Okay, so that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Susan, I don't know if you want to totally unrehearsed. I didn't tell you would have to say anything. If you have anything you want to say about your journey so far, and well, let me ask her the one question. What do you do when it gets a little tough for you? How do you find your own respite?
My own respite. Basically, it's very hard to learn that you have to give time for yourself. You think that it is your job to help the person during the whole time. However, if I were to get sick or something would happen to me, we have these discussions. What do you want? So that we know and we can tell our children what to plan for him. I'm very lucky that I belong to a support group, which we call our cohorts, and we meet. And when we meet, it is at a little cafe in the neighborhood. We have coffee and we just talk to each other about how we are and if there's anything that's going on that we might be able to help each other. So you really have to think about it and think, what can you do? Just like he's an advocate for all these things, advocate for yourself and find people that you feel comfortable with and that you can always go to and talk to.
So we are touring, but in a pitch, if you want us, if the full play is about a little over an hour, then we always have this discussion, and we'd love to be able to come and be there in your community. So I turn it back to you.
Okay, before we go to a discussion and questions, thank you both for being our artivists today. Next Monday, April 24th at 4:30, we will have Mr. Nishan Jackson, who will present My Journey and Key Life Lessons from Justice Impacted to Community Leader. There's also, I want to remind everyone who's in New York, Adelphi University is hosting the first segment of ARTIVISM's actually fourth annual exhibition, From the Virtual to the Real. It's a series of postcards that were mailed to ARTIVISM from all over the world, young and old. That is up. It will then go to the Offutt Gallery at Teachers College, Gottesman Libraries in June. For more information on this and all series and upcoming events, you can just Google ARTIVISM Adelphi or go to www.adelphi.edu/ARTIVISM. You can see this video once it's uploaded and all prior videos on our YouTube channel, ARTIVISM, the number 4 Shared Humanity, and the same for our Facebook and Instagram social media. Questions. I did want to say before we go to questions, the color purple. The color purple. Yes.
Yes, we wear color purple. We almost dress like that every day, or at least a lot. And I typically wear the Alzheimer's button. It raises there are people who don't want to talk about it, and it's tough for lots of reasons. But I've had phone calls from people. One that sticks in my mind is someone says, my husband's got a diagnosis, doesn't want anybody to know, and we can't talk about it. Can I call you periodically if I have questions? So, I know I'm an outlier, but and I'm lucky too to have Susan here for me too.
I have a little list here, but is comments from the audience here today? Any questions? Well, I will start. I think you are both very, very brave. You did say something earlier about community, right? What could community do? What purpose could they serve? How, can you reach out or create a community?
Community is in two different categories, in two different contexts. We are involved in a synagogue, and other people have churches. And luckily, it's large enough. It has a professional who is carrying director, so that they check in, and I have performed there twice now for other congregants, and in community in that way. But look, there's also the county we live in, the city. Dementia friendly movement in America is, I think, an important development to try to create a friendly environment that is for those with dementia friendly. There's also, by the way, a slightly more aggressive movement, which I love, called it's the East End Institute in Brooklyn. Mary Fridley, which some of you may know, is
Get out to the street.
well, taking it to the streets.
Yeah.
It's reimagining dementia, taking it to the streets to try to make people in the category I talked about, that 5 to 10 or 15 more years, but are already affected. In other words, it doesn't mean you can be just like your decline or your impairment is, but we're here. We're now, and so it's about not being invisible, and in that way, all sorts of business can adapt. I've been talking to the disability office of Microsoft, slightly more specific than community, but the internet is quite a, and I'm not the only one. All the changes and upgrades to technology are harder and harder for us. Now, I didn't know it, but by the way, I'll tell you, because it's just a button away, you don't have to go to the new Outlook. You can, at least not right away, you can go into the help part, and it says go back to a regular Outlook. I have been profiled in the Washington Post as the tech guy 15, 20 years ago, and I'm having trouble with changes in the technology. So but that's how communities and companies can be aware of and develop options and systems that enable. There's a bigger one then. There's one, so that's one category. There is another one that's becoming it's a little bit more complicated in this day, but the cost burden on families can be so large. So there was a friend of mine who passed away. I say a friend of mine, it was years ago. He was a political guru for the Clinton administration. Of course, at 79, you turn, the first thing you look at in the paper is the obituaries, and there was his obituary. He had moved to Santa Fe and had Alzheimer's, and he had gone to Switzerland to take his own life and said, I don't want to continue being a burden to my family. Now, burden often is financial. And I have lots of good answers to ways to keep going and why to get going. I don't yet have a good answer to someone who says, I wanted to leave something to my children or for my grandchildren, but now it's all going to take care of me. I don't want to have that happen. That shouldn't have to happen. We should have a financial system that, whether in home or if it must be in a facility or if it requires a full-time other person. But as a society, we need to figure out how to do that. And that's a hard stop for me.
There's a comment in the chat from Giancarlo Lopez. Sam, your willingness to turn such a deeply personal experience into a form of artivism is incredibly moving. Through your journey with dementia and your decision to share it so openly through performance, what are some of the most meaningful lessons you've learned, both personally and artistically? And what has it taught you about connection, community, or the impact of sharing your story with others? That's good.
Deep, long, right. So how much time do I have? No,
you have time. Go ahead.
No. So it's my answer in part is informed by the fact that I've done a show about something like this before. So but I am still surprised. So, and I said that earlier, I'm that all of a sudden I see my own story differently by just hearing somebody speak about their story and things that, it's like almost every show I'll get a question I haven't had before, I haven't thought about before. And I, first of all, I hear enormous courage from people in the audience, both those who have been with their loved one and have spent all the time and the types of activity. It popped in my mind, so I'll say it. We were, I forget where it was, in Boulder or someplace, and we were seeing after the audience says, "Do you have a T-shirt that says Dementia Man on it?" And at the time we said no, but now we do. We have merch. But it was a member of the audience who did that. I also run into, and we haven't talked about it, the misinformation. It goes from the petty to the medical. It's true. I got diagnosed, I went home and got on Google, and there was the woman who made a soup for her husband who got well. And for $19.95, you could get her soup and get rid of your dementia. There's a lot of that out there. And then there is a program. My internist gave me a book. You may have heard of it, called The End of Alzheimer's by a doctor, Dr. Bredesen. When there is no cure of Alzheimer's, he has he had some clinics in California for $10,000, 10 days. You could go there and get help on a keto diet and stuff. And it turns out I've learned something new. Somebody said about this, that apparently he licensed somebody else to do it, and he doesn't control it. And now they're building Bredesen clinics all over the country with the same sort of, spend all this money, come in, and it offers an end. There is no cure. There are medicines that help. There are new medicines. I have a big decision tomorrow. Literally, I'm going to see my neurologist. He wants me to, because I was in a drug trial, I couldn't start on these new medicines. And one there, I've got them right here next to me. The need for good information and hearing how people have navigated, hearing how they have coped is, we don't talk I've had from 80 to 300 people over and over again telling about how they've managed their own journey. Sometimes it's helpful to me to understand, one, I am not alone. That is a huge, important thing for people in this, that we are not alone in this. We've done it before, and it can be done so much brighter. I've learned you know, about, again, the value of, I knew what exercise, but I hear that and I hear that. But I want to come back to what I said earlier, that well, let me actually rephrase it this way. One thing I have learned, and I was a caregiver. I call it in the book, and love partner. I'll even, you can be a care partner / giver. That is, when Susan was that sick, I had to give her shots in her tummy. She would get sick sometimes, and I had to hold out this little pan. That's caregiving, but my heart was breaking because I was told she wasn't going to make it. That's a love partner. So learning that, but in this, I thought it was tough for me, but the care partner journey in this disease is a magnitude of order more challenging. And I don't know if we understand that well enough. And again, you want to know the community. I did perform for the National Association of Adult Daycare Providers, and I learned about that, and I heard about that, and there are a potential help and game changer. They've always been around, but they're growing. You have the baby boomer and the children. There's a huge group of us, and one of our options, we're trying to figure out, what do we do? We're looking at assisted living places and independent assisted, but maybe we can live here, and there is a daycare provider a minute and a half away, from where we live now by car, but maybe they're providing more. They're doing some medical stuff. They're going more than just having to sit and watch TV. There's also the Montessori movement. I don't know how many people have heard about that, but applying the Montessori technique to senior living movements. And I love it. I'm working with them a little bit. There'll be a performance at the Friend's House in Maryland, not far from here, who are implementing the Montessori. But what's the idea? The idea is even people with advanced cognitive decline have spent their lives in being good at something. So whatever that was, develop an individual program within the memory care around that, so that they're likely to be able to thrive and work and not just sit in your room and stare into the sky. And that's exciting to me, that kind of option. So I'm learning all the time. There is a privilege. This is, highly personal, right? But usually about Susan, I would say I would never have wanted her to have had gone through what you want. But what a gift to me. And so this is about the last thing on that question. The ultimate act of love. What does love really mean? First, if you can hold a person who is passing and let them know that they're loved, that is what love really means. And to be able to do that, to have the privilege and opportunity to be able to do that for someone and give them that gift is what love really means. And I don't know, I was once at a conference, I forget what they're called. They're every holiday. The Clintons created them years ago. You have to be by invitation. We were there, and I had to give they had a little session. Everybody who goes has to do something as well as be in the audience. And I was on a little panel that said you had to say, it was to give a 3-minute talk on last words. Whatever that means to you. And this was I was sort of involved with Susan at the time. My last words were, And I think they're great. First of all, I'm sorry if I've ever done anything that hurts you. Second, I forgive you if you've ever done anything. And then finally, I love you. But the alternative sometimes, and we know people who have lived through this, is the knock at the door. The knock at the door is somebody coming to tell you that somebody you love is gone. I see a question on the face. I want to be able to give my three words if I can be gifted with that. I don't want it to happen, however. So that's a long answer to some of the things we've learned, and it, you know, it has enriched our lives. It's an odd thing to say. So yeah, go ahead. There is another question or two. You're muted, Angie.
Oh, I was just going to ask, I'm navigating all this. It's new for me. My dad was diagnosed this year. And I'm just wondering, I was thinking about what you were saying about all these groundbreaking Montessori technique and the Association of Adult Daycare Providers. And I was just wondering if you knew of any organization, or you would think there could be some partnership with universities like Adelphi that has a very large social work program, to even just, for research purposes, to practice on folks in the community. Because one of the things I've noticed is just simply having interaction and stimulation with folks is really important. So I'm just wondering if, since it's new to me, if you knew off the top of your head, if there are any of these kinds of organizations.
You go online to start with.
Oh, okay.
I'm one of the 5 advisors for this. University of Nevada DEAR program.
Okay.
And this is the size of the book. That's just the cover.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But so that's helpful. University of Nevada DEAR program has a big out in Las Vegas, or not Las Vegas, in Nevada. God, okay. It is tough. It is tough. You're going to find that there are support groups and being hosted by a lot of senior living places because they want you to sign up for it. Susan and I go to every Friday a support group via Zoom in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's how I got connected to them, because they are supported by Dementia Friendly Nevada, and they're supported by the DEAR program and the University of Nevada, and the Cleveland Clinic has a hospital that they have a support program. So it's professionally run. They don't have any interest other than we get to talk to each other, and people come in and out and share stories, and there are access to good things. Also, by the way, I'm a big advocate for. But Delphi wants to do something if the law department I don't think any doctor should be and neurologist should be permitted to diagnose a memory issue without a social service support in their office. So we literally walked out of a doctor's office, and in the show, it's the first bad neurologist, and then we find the better neurologist, our current neurologist right now has a social worker once in a while in his office. But I want to support that navigator system within the office. So when you get a disease, when you walk out, it's, what should I do now? And I've learned my experience is not unusual. That the first neurologist said, you've got mild cognitive impairment. Luckily, you don't have the black tangles. you probably have the amyloids. I've got to go now. Well, what should I do, doctor? How can I get better? You're just going to get worse. Now, oh, here's a prescription for Aricept. And anybody on here knows Aricept. You have to go up into it. And when we went to the desk to check out, he said, well, the doctor's left no instructions and we'll be in touch if he wants to see you again. Well, if you're giving it, so we changed doctors. We changed doctors.
But that's your point. The neurologist has to be someone you can talk to.
Well,
and every neurologist office should have a list there, even if they don't have a social worker, is what we're out and advocating for. So you know where to go. Yes, the Alzheimer's Association has lots of information.
And an 800 number.
Yeah, and they do have support groups themselves that they do I took the one through Zoom, and it helped me understand in the beginning exactly, because they have you read information and so forth, which you know is true information as opposed to what?
Yeah, no, yes. By the way, she's just reminded me. It's still up and available, alzheimers.gov. Did you know that? There's a .gov? Wow. I mean, it took me a while to find that. And we're creating on my website resources. And if I want to trust, even the Alzheimer's Association, I know they have a good 800 number. I've called it periodically, but it's not local necessarily. And I don't know. I love that. And there's a couple of other, there are a couple of government agencies that have a weekly thing. It's reliable information you can trust, but for community-based stuff, it's really, really hard right now. We're in the metropolitan DC area. There's major hospitals here and NIH, but finding a good local group that meets in person. So, and then in fact, the more local it can be, by the way, I think, like many things, if you're in a religious or work or other group where you can sort of know people and relate and have other shared interests, it's not bad to, there's some good ones at some of the bigger.
The area agencies.
Oh, area agencies on aging. They're counting.
Yeah, they definitely can guide you to where you want to go.
And the dementia-friendly movement. Okay, so dementia-friendly was a British-based movement. It's in the US. There's Dementia-Friendly America. And they're in every community, and they have various certifications and for organizations and a dementia-friendly entity of sorts. So I think that they're helpful in finding some of the support groups that are labeled dementia-friendly can be helpful, and they have they're not uniform. And so again, like a lot of other things, you live someplace, your neighborhood, your community, who do people see? Not the same doctors don't work for everybody, and they can be just perfectly fine. It is really hard. Somebody we know was seeing their own neurologist and asked who we were seeing. We told them it was 6 months to get in to see. It's hard. It's really, there's a scarcity. That's why an adjoining, I call it an adjoining or support enterprise of whether it's social workers or psychologists or especially trained nurse practitioners. And the practices need to get paid for it too. They need to be able to get, insurance needs to cover it. It is, there are all sorts of life-changing diagnoses, but this one is the cognitive, the memory issues. go on for years. They complicate life. I think they're, again, a magnitude order different than a lot of other things out there. And I don't know that we see it that well. I hope that helps.
Any other questions or comments? Carolina, would you like to tell Sam and Susan about our key takeaway?
What will be your key takeaway then that we ask here in the Artivism for our speakers to leave us with a action item?
Yeah, come see the play now. Go buy a hat. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying. First of all, that stop using the word dementia. It's a neurocognitive disease, but short, the word dementia, and it will be going away, I hope. There's a movement afoot. Just so the word retarded is actually prohibited for the US government to use. And when that happened, it fell out of public use. There's a movement to get a bill to require the government not to use the word dementia, cognitive decline, cognitive disorder. The medical world has already left that. The DSM-5, the medical book on neurology, is a neurocognitive disorder, major or minor. It does not use the word dementia. So that's one. Second is that it is possible to live a meaningful life with the disease. Get diagnosed early, as early as you can. Don't be afraid of it. And as much as we don't want it, and this is, we didn't talk a lot about it. A lot of people don't want to say they don't want to know. If I can't do anything about it, why should I know? There are things you can do about it. That is, you can plan, you can, make marginal differences, slow it down, be the best you can be with it. And maybe that's the takeaway, be the best you can be with what you're given. And particularly for me, my own takeaway is if I can't change it up, there's no value in spending time ruining it. That's a word, rue. And feeling sorry. I mean, I understand that you can't tell anybody how to feel. Just urge to get help if need be, because you are a valuable person, however you are. And then finally, your journey. This is my core belief, that there may be something about me that might just add, I don't care, maybe a nanosecond sooner for a cure than if I didn't stay around and get treated and added my own experience to the book. That maybe just one little thing about me will be different enough, and that I can do that. And by the way, it is a gift to your loved ones. And yes, for those of you who are in the loved one category, be prepared and be aware with others in your community to be supporting of them as well, because I know they need that. So there are a few takeaways from us.
Thank you, Sam and Susan, for this really inspiring, touching, moving presentation today. Informative. I think you give us all a lot of hope. You make us grateful for what we have, for all the loved ones in our lives. I don't want to go anymore because then I will start crying. Thank you to Carolina and to Dr. Lake, to our sponsors, Adelphi University, Gottesman Libraries of Teachers College, Jennifer Govan, and Sing for Hope. Thank you so much. Hope to see you again. There is a list of comments in the chat. We will share it with you. Carolina, did you want to say something?
Yes, yes. Before we close,
Yes.
we have another comment. Tony Bird
Okay.
said, "What do you believe to be the biggest misconception of living? Emphasis on living with a challenging ailment."
It is that life with it isn't worth the living, that the problems are too overwhelming and you're better off dead. And I can, the line between that and I can live great is thin. We are at the abyss in some ways. Yeah. And I will say should have added this, but we have two adult children, very successful. One's a lawyer, the other's a doctor. Yes, she is the doctor. Audiences often say he. She is she's a pediatric dentist. But we're lucky, and we have 4 wonderful grandchildren, and we have a cohesive relationship with everybody. And Susan, yes, Tony asked, what advice can you give to the caregiver?
You accept what you have and you work with it and you live with it. And just as we advocate for it, there can be joy in the diagnosis. So that's what you have to look at. And your attitude has to be one of positivity. That's me.
And
thought,
cohort.
Yeah.
And to repeat your cohort.
And yes, finding a group of people that are there for you and that you can trust and talk to in times of need.
I want to add something. I can't believe I forgot about it. For personal development, I spent a number of years being trained in improv. There's a group in New York City called Artistic New Directions. They're A&D theater company now. And I got trained by some really great people. The primary way for a care partner to deal with a person with a cognitive disorder is yes and. It's an improv technique. And we run into it so often. In advanced stages, people will say, I might say one day, Susan, let's go home. She says, Sam, you're home. Come on, cut it out. I'm not home. That doesn't help. Well, what we've heard stories of and the way it's handled is, yes, okay, let's go home. Sometimes they'll get out and walk around the house. Sometimes they'll take them in the car and drive around the block. So within the context, take those obvious things, getting to know that in thinner time or less distinct times. That is, I can't find my glasses. They may be sitting in front of you. Oh, come on. Well, let's go look for them. Oh, here they are. Yes, anding. Yes, and. Write it down and put it in big letters on your icebox. Yes, and that's a good thing to do, by the way, in any conversational context. And there's a woman, maybe some of you know her name, Teepa Snow. She's got a website. She is the guru of yes anding in cognitive disorders. This show I love, but it's perfect as an example. Has this video of her being in an assisted living center in a game room, and a woman comes in who lives there and bangs chairs with a brush, just whacks them. Well, this person had been a maid all her life, and she's cleaning. So Teepa's reaction is, oh, you're doing a great job. You're almost finished. Here's the last chair. Not stop hitting the furniture and get out of here, right? And it's almost, and let's go get a meal. And then she makes Teepa does a side thing of, then we go to the bathroom because she's a bit incontinent. But it's yes anding. I was interviewed. If you go, by the way, go on Dementia Man website and click on our at the bottom our YouTube channel. Every week we have interviews, and I was once interviewed by. We also have the interviews we were in, and hopefully we'll have this up too on our if we can share it as well, the link. But there are some things that wanted to add.
I do want to say, having, my mother who had dementia, it's just a scary thought. And sometimes, if I'm sitting around and I don't remember what I did yesterday, right? It would freak me out. Like, what did I do? I know I did something. Was it work? Was it this? Was it that? I started keeping a diary years ago. So I have a journal and I just put little bullet points, like picked up the kids from school, my grandkids, or, did this, did that. So if I get into that little panic mode, I just look back in my diary and then everything just floods back. And it's like, whew.
So you know the difference between you and
You do.
the
Yeah.
but there is the difference is she wouldn't remember. It was your mother who had it?
My mother.
Yeah. She wouldn't remember she had the diary.
She wouldn't remember. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was incredible. Thank you for your time and for all the resources. Please do share. I mean, if you're in New York or if you're, performing pretty much anywhere, because, we have, participants and followers here, globally, really. If you share the events, we'll be happy to share with our network. Caroline, all right?
Great. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you
Well,
so
we,
much.
we will. And
Keep going.
if you go to the website and you can sign up for our weekly blog, if you want to, it's under contacts on the website, under contacts, and then we'll put you in the
Thank you.
So,
Thank you so much.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Be
Thank
well.
you for doing this. This is really, really helpful for people. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.